are having a good day so far. Today we'll be doing our grade 5 English lesson on Greek and Latin roots. We'll be doing our grade 5 English lesson on Greek and Latin roots. And before we start, we're going to log on to aplusstudents.ca. Once you've logged on to aplusstudents.ca with our username as well as our password, and then we're going to select the subject of language arts, grade 5, and then we're going to scroll down up until we get to the chapter of Greek and Latin roots. Okay, so our chapter is Greek and Latin roots. Our subject is English, which is language arts. Grade 5, and the lessons that we're going to focus on today under the chapter of Greek and Latin roots is to use words as clues to the meaning of Greek and Latin roots. Determine the meaning of Greek and Latin roots. And to determine the meaning of words with Greek and Latin roots. So that is basically our lessons for today, right? Under the chapter of Greek and Latin roots. And last week we said that we are going to continue with Greek and Latin roots. So today is basically a continuation of what we did last week. All right. Okay, so we said that roots, right, is a part of a word that has a certain meaning, right? And we say that words that share the same root, it often have similar meanings that are related to the meaning of the roots, right? And then we made an example, let's say we made a few examples of, let's say, roots which are the same, and all the other added words, right, to the roots, right? It basically, the meaning of the words were still the same, or it was kinda or similar the same to, let's say, the root that was basically, let's say, linking those words, right? And we made an example of xylophone. And we said that our root is phone, right? Which is without the E, but it is phone, which is PHON, right? And phone means sound. So we said our root is phone, which is PHON, and that means sound, right? And then we made a few examples of words, let's say with the same root, like xylophone, right? There we have the word phone in it. Homophones, which have the word phones in, and telephones, which have the word phones in, right? Which means that all three of these words, right, it has a similar meaning that is related to something with sounds, right? So the root word, we said phone, it means sound. And if we look at all three of these words, xylophone, homophones, and telephones, right, it is basically to do with sound, right? And if we look at xylophone, xylophone is a musical instrument with wooden bars that are hit by small hammers, right? So a musical instrument, right, which produces sound, right? And it produces different types of sounds based on let's say whichever bar that you hit, because it depends. It's almost like a piano, that whichever note you press, you'll get like a different, let's say, a tone or sound to it. Now that is the same with the xylophone. Whichever bar you hit, it is you basically hear, let's say, a different type of sound, right? And then we have homophones. And homophones are words, it sounds the same, but they have different meanings. You see, so it's also to do with sound. And with homophones, um I made an example of words like, if you say buy, B-U-Y, B-Y-E, and buy, which is B-Y, right? So those are words like homophones. The first word meaning to buy is to purchase something, right? And then we have the second word buy, which is B-Y-E, which is short for goodbye. And then we have the third word buy, which basically means it's either near or far, right? Um, hydrophone. Hydrophone is to do, it's basically it's an underwater device, right? That detects or records sound. So yes, hydrophone is also, here we have the word which is in the comment box, which is hydro, to do with water, and phone, right? So hydro is to do with water, but then phone is to do with sound. So hydro and phone, if you put those two root words together, then it means that it is an underwater device that detects and records ocean sounds from all directions. So hydrophone, it's also a, let's say, an example where we can use the root word phone, right? So hydrophone is correct. The root word can both be hydro and the root word can be phone. Because remember last week we said that we had identified, let's say, two root words, right? And then we basically put those two root words together and it created, let's say, a meaning that was joined by those two root words. Let's say, let's look at these words. Let's look at this over here. Here it says all these meanings relate to the concept of sound, right? That is the previous one. Okay, now here it says you can now use your knowledge of roots to figure out the meaning of words you haven't seen before, right? This is now roots that we are now using. So now we have the, let's say the root word, right? Let's say that we have the root word of cyclo. Look at the root word cyclo. And we said cyclo either means circle or it means wheel, right? That is cyclo. And then we also have another root word, right, which is meter. And meter means to measure. So now it means that we basically have two root words, right, which is cyclo and we have meter. And if we put those two words together, those two root words together, which is cyclometer, then we can say it is a device that measures how many times a wheel turns, right? So it's the same as with hydrophone. Hydro is to do with water, right? So hydro is to do with water, what's the meaning is water. And then we have phone, we can add the E even, is to do with sound. So which means that if we put those two together, which is hydrophone, and then it means that it is a device that can basically, that measures the sounds, let's say underwater, right? All right, so that is basically Greek and Latin roots, right? So we said that with Greek and Latin roots, you have a root, right? And a root is a part of the word that has a certain meaning. So we have basically words that share the specific root, and then they can have similar meanings that are related to the meaning of that root, right? And then we made a few examples of root words. And then we also said you can join two root words, and then it basically creates a meaning based on the two root words that has been joined, right? Cyclonic. I think okay, let me see what cyclonic means. So cyclonic, right? It says it's pertaining to a cyclone, right? Describing a direction of rotation that is counter either clockwise, right, in the southern hemisphere. So yes, cyclo is also the root word of cyclonic, right? And it's to do with, it doesn't specifically say circle, but it does say that it is rotating in a clockwise position. So if it's in a clockwise position, then it means that it is rotating, it is going, it's basically going in circles, it's going round, right? And it basically goes um in a clockwise type of hemisphere. So cyclonic is also a an example, right, where the root is cyclo. So the root is also cyclo, and it basically means that it is going in a clockwise type of circular position. All right. So we are doing our tutorial lesson on aplusstudents.ca, right? So we are going to aplusstudents.ca, and then we're going to go to the lessons, which is to use words as clues to the meaning of Greek and Latin roots, to determine the meaning of Greek and Latin roots, and we're going to determine the meaning of words with Greek and Latin roots, right? All right, let's go to aplusstudents.ca. So we did the two lessons already, which was last week. So now we're going to use words as clues to the meaning of Greek and Latin roots. Basically, the examples that they are giving us here on A plus students, it's basically the examples that we did already, right? The only thing that they're doing now is the activities has changed, because now they want us to determine either the meaning or to use words as certain clues in order for us to find, let's say, the meanings of the Greek and Latin roots. And the roots, or the Greek and Latin roots, are basically those roots that we mentioned, for example, like cyclo or hydro or meter, right? Those are the Greek and Latin roots. And we said that whatever words that is latched to that roots, right, it basically creates some form of meaning, right? And then you end up having similar meanings that are related to the meanings of those roots. So whether we put the two root words together, then it means that those two root words will then create a joined meaning, right, to whatever the meaning of those root words or whatever the word might be. All right. So now we're going to look at this activity, right? And it says, the word automobile, right? It contains the root auto. So the word automobile, right? It contains the root auto. So what is they say it contains the root auto, but now they want to know, what does the root auto mean, right? Automobile. If you hear of the word automobile, What do you think the root word might really mean? We know that a or mobile, like we would basically say it, but it's automobile. It's basically to do with, let's say, um, almost like a car or a vehicle, right? But now, what is an automobile? Or let's say, what do you think the meaning of the word auto means? Auto. All right. So if we look at the meaning of the word auto, right? So firstly, an automobile, I said it's to do with a vehicle or car, right? And when we say it's a vehicle or car, then it's usually a vehicle, let's say with four wheels, right? We can't say it is a something with like a bicycle type of thing. It is a vehicle with four wheels. So whether it is a car or whether it is a truck or a bus, right? But it is a four-wheeled vehicle, right? That is used for transporting people or passengers, right? So that is an automobile. And if we look at the meaning of the word auto, right, then we can say auto either means self. So auto either means self or auto means own, right? So which means that it is some form of vehicle that you drive by yourself, right? So automobile. So auto is to do with self, or auto means own, right? All right. And basically, auto, it is, we say that it is more like a Greek root meaning self. All right. So now we look at the next one. We have the word missile. Missile, right? We have the word missile. Is it missile or missile? Missile contains the root miss, right? So we have the root miss. What does the root miss mean? What do you think the root miss mean? Missile. So what do you think the word miss mean? Or let's say the root, the Greek root mean, Greek or Latin root means of miss. Or what does missile specifically mean? What do you think missile means? Or where have you heard the word missile? Where do they use missiles? Okay, it's a type of bomb. That's a good one. What else? Another one. Missile. What do you think missile means? And where do you think they use missiles? What is related to missiles? It's a bomb. All right. So yes, missile is, we can say missile is like a type of bomb, right? It is basically like a weapon that is used where you are either throwing objects or sending objects, or it's being released. These specific objects like bombs or whatever things that is within this missile that is being released from this weapon, and then it's being sent, or it goes to the position of, let's say, the opposite, is it the opposite party or then the enemy or something like that, right? It is targeted at a specific object or thing, or we shouldn't say people, but yeah, right? So an object is a weapon that is used, can either be like shooting something, right? And it can, we specifically saying it's like a type of bombs, right? Yes, it is targeted at either a specific object or it is targeted at a specific thing, right? It's being used in wars, it's being used in battles, right? So, yes, well done. That is correct, right? So, that is basically missiles. So, now if that is a missile, now what do you think the meaning of the word miss mean? So, if that is a missile, then what do you think the meaning of the word miss mean? All right. So, yes, missile can mean, if we are specifically talking about an object, right, that releases either bombs or releases specific things that is, let's say, directed at either a specific object, right? And then we can then say that a missile, it's basically targeting a specific object. Then we can either say that the missile is either to send, or it is to shoot, or it is to release, right? These specific things. So we can then say that miss, the root miss, or the Greek word miss, means either to send or it is to shoot, right? Because you are aiming at a specific thing, right? So basically, all of your answers are correct, because if we say to aim, and we're saying either to release something, to shoot at something, to send off, let's say that specific, whatever that's in this missile, this object, not in the object, but the weapon, right? Those are, then we can then basically say it is to send, to either release, to shoot, or to aim at, right? So well done. So missile can either mean to shoot, to send, and of course, you first need to aim at that specific object, right? Because you are targeting a specific object. All right, so here it says the word missile. Here they're giving us a direct meaning also. It says the word missile, like the word dismiss, right? It contains the root miss. These words have to do with sending someone or something to another place. And that is basically what we mentioned now. It's releasing or sending that specific thing, right? So that is basically what miss means. Miss means to send. So well done, everybody. Now we have another word, which is biology, right? So we have the word biology, and biology contains the root logy. So here we have the word biology, and it contains the root logy. What do you think logy means? What do you think the word logy means? And if you look at the word biology, what do you think biology means? Where have you heard the word biology? What do you think it might contain, or what do you think it might consist of? Biology. What is something that comes to your mind when you hear biology? That is correct. We did this. This was also the words that was used in our last English class. All right. So firstly, logy means the study of something, right? So that's the word logy. Logy, it means the study of something. And then logy, right, is the root word within the word biology, right? And biology is basically to do with, let's say, living organisms, right? It's to do with, let's say, scientific stuff, right? So it's the study of that. Do you want to share with us what histophysiology means? A, do you want to share with us what histophysiology means? Because that is how you say the word for the rest of you. It's called histophysiology. And in histophysiology, think of the word physiology, right? But now we have histophysiology. All right, so histophysiology is also to do with the study of something, right? So that is why I was saying we have different root words, right? Here we have the root word logy, right? Logy means basically the study of something. And then we have words like bio. Bio is also a root word on its own. So now, if we look at the word histophysiology, right, it is a branch or group of physiology. So, which means that it is the study of that things, right? It is a study of tissue, it's a study of the tissue in the body, right? Or the tissue of the body. So that is basically what histophysiology mean. And then you, for example, if you have the root word bio, if you now think of biology, if we're going back to that, then bio specifically it's just to do with, let's say, your either the plants, it's to do with body, right? So it's the study of the plants, the study of the body, depending on whatever that you are studying specifically. But logy, so even if you have psychology, physiology, right, it is the study of something. But the word in front of it, right? Let's say physiology. So physio means something different, and then if you put logic together, then it's a study of the study of this, the study of that. And that is what we mean when we say that these Greek and Latin roots, right, it has a certain meaning. Like logi has a certain meaning, which is the study of something, right? And the words that they share, like biology or histophysiology or even physiology, right? Those words, right? It shares the same root, right? And they often have similar meanings. And these meanings are then related to the meanings of that specific root. So, biology, physiology, histophysiology, those are all meanings that mean something that is to do with the study of something. right? Because they share the same root, which is logi, right? All right, so now we're going to our test where we are going to use words as clues to the meanings of Greek and Latin roots. So we're going to our test. All right, so here it says the word decagon is a decagon, or decagon contains the root dec, right? Oh, no, decagon, sorry, decagon. So the word decagon contains the word des, right? So what does the root des mean? Is it to do with 10? Is it 100? Or is it to do with a shape? So the word decagon, it contains the root des. Does the root des mean 10, 100, or is it a shape? If we look at, let's say, what do you think the word decagon mean? Yes, and a decade is, let's say, how many years? If it reminds you of a decade, then how many years is a decade? So a decade is 10 years, right? It's a period of 10 years. That's a decade. So if you look at the word gone, a gone, right? If you look at the word a gone, that is just, just listen with me, like be with me, a gone. Think of shapes, right? Because like look at, um let's say you have a polygon, you have other shapes, right? If you name a shape, let's say with three sides, then we have a triangle. If we have a shape with four sides, it can either be a square or a rectangle, right? Then we have a shape with five sides. What do we call that shape? A shape with five sides. All right, so then we have a pentagon, which has five sides. Then we have a hexagon that has got six sides, right? Octagon with eight sides. So basically, a decagon, right, is a shape with 10 sides, which means that we can say that des, right, within the word decagon is to do with 10, right? It's to do with 10 because it even tells us that it has 10 sides, right? So we can say 10 because a decagon has got 10 sides, right? It's a shape with 10 sides. So which means that we can then say that the root des means 10. So it is a shape, yes, but des specifically means 10. And that is why, you were even saying that it makes you think of decade, which is to do with 10. And if you look at the word decade, decade also has the root word des in front, or dec in front, right? So decade, decade, it also has that root word in front, which means a period of 10 years, right? So we can say then a des or dec means 10. So well done, everybody. 10 is correct. All right, so now the word centimeter, right? It contains the root cent. So we have the word centimeter that contains the root cent. What do you think the root cent mean? Cent, is it to measure? Is it 100? Or is it 10? So cent, what does cent mean? Is it to measure? Is it 100 or is it 10? I'm going to give everybody else also a chance. The options are measure, 100 or 10. So it's either 100 or 10, not 1000, no? All right, so we will then choose the second option, and centimeters, not even centimeters, but cent means 100, right? Because it's to do with, let's say, there's 100, we said what, 100 watt in a meter, there's 100 centimeters within a meter. That is what it actually means. Remember, 100 centimeters equals to 1 meter. So that is why they're saying it is 100. It is 100 of a meter. So well done. 100 is correct. All right. So the word visual, right? It contains the root vis. What does the root vis mean? If you think of visual, right? I think visual is usually a word that we've used many a times. So is it to see shapes or lines or the study of something? Vis. The root word vis with the word visual. Vis, is it to see shapes or lines or the study of something? All right. So if we look at the word, the meaning of the root word vis, right? And then we can say that vis, it means to see. Because if you look at the meaning of the word visual, right? Then visual is either related to seeing or it is to do with sight, right? It's the same as if you get a new set of glasses, right? And then it means that you can now see better. Or if you cannot see properly, right? And then it is also to do with visual. So your visual can either be very clear or it can be blurred or right? That is basically visual or to do with viz or viz. It basically means to see or to be able to see, right? So it's related to seeing or to see. So well done. C is correct. All right, so now we have the word millimeter. The word millimeter. So millimeter, right? So we said centimeter, right? It contains the root centi, right? And we said that centi was 100, right? Because it is 100, let's say, centimeters. That's a meter, right? That makes up a meter. So now we have the word millimeter. What is millimeter? Millimeter contains the root milli. So what does milli mean? Is it 10? Is it measure or 1,000? How many millimeters to 1 meter? How many millimeters in 1 meter? Think of that. That will basically give us the meaning of the root word milli. Because if we said centimeter contains basically 100, there's 100 centimeters in a meter, right? So it is 100th to a meter. So now millimeters, right? How many millimeters to a meter? It's milli with an I. They do actually say milli with an E, but it is, remember milli the way it is written, right? It is milli, which is Milli, right? That is how it is written when you write millimeter. But if you look at the root, and then even if you look up the meaning of the word root of milli, right, then it's going to be with an E. But if you write the word millimeter, then it is Milli, not Mille, right? But like I say, if you just look at the root on its own, then it is Mille. That is only when we look at the root on its own. But as soon as you put that word, that root word within a, let's say, with another root word, because remember meter is a root word on its own. So once you join those two root words, then actually you, instead of putting the E, you put an I. Remember, we are doing Greek and Latin roots, right? So basically, the Latin number is written Mille. That is why we say it is Greek and Latin roots. Yes, so if you look at the word millennium, that as the root also of milli. It's millennium, and the millennium is to do with how many years, right? All right, so we said it's to do with 1,000. Milli is 1,000 because there are 1,000 millimeters in a meter. All right, guys, that is basically, yes. So millennium is 1,000 years. So do you guys see how, let's say milli, right? Millimeters the root milli is basically written as MILLE, and even millennium is the root of millennium is MILLE, right? Which means that it is a period of 10 years, right? So the same 1000 years, sorry. Now the same with milli in millimeters, it is to do with 1000, right? So well done, guys. That is now the end of our lesson on Greek and Latin roots, right? We say that roots are basically words where you'll have a root that contains a certain meaning, right? And sometimes you can either have two different roots or you can have one specific root, but then it basically shares the same meaning. You can have different words with the same root, and then all of these words will have similar meanings, right? Because they are related to that one specific root word, which has a specific meaning, right? All right, so this is the end of our lesson on Greek and Latin roots. Thank you very much for joining our class today. I really hope you guys have a broad understanding now of what Greek and Latin roots are. Um, so yeah, till next time, have a good evening further. Goodbye.